Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of The Creative Heart. My name is Gideon. I'm also known as Gideonslight and I'm your creatively fit coach. So today it is the YES Extravaganza, and this morning during my live I discussed all the ins and outs of the YES Extravaganza and saying yes to your dreams and yes to the universe, yes to your goals, and yes to a creative practice. So if you want to see what I shared with you guys during this live, do check out my live playlist on this channel and you will see that little video that I shared with you here. So now I'm going to show you guys exactly how I painted this YES painting on that beautiful message board that my guests started to fill in for me during my recent art exhibition. So I'll be showing you guys today a 4-part easy painting method that you can use with acrylic paint. So we start off with a freedom layer, then we dive into some clarity where we define what we are painting, and then we go into defining that space as a third layer, and then we ended up with some details. So using this 4-step method in painting with acrylic paint, anyone can really begin to enjoy a painting practice. So that is what I want to get you guys into today. So let's say yes to a creative practice and yes to this video. Give me a second, let me turn the camera around and I will show you exactly how. Hello everybody and welcome to this free art class here this Monday afternoon. I'm so excited to share with you, and this morning I talked to you live on my YouTube channel about this YES Extravaganza with FREYA. If you haven't seen that video, just check out my live playlist on my channel and you will see the video that I created for you guys. This afternoon we're going to get into our creative practice here, and I'm going to show you a very easy peasy kind of painting method, and what you will need is what I'm going to start with. So some kind of surface, hopefully you've got a bit of a canvas board, a canvas pad, or even just your art journal or ordinary office paper. It really doesn't matter the quality or what you have, as long as you get into it and try. So today I'm going to use this painting board that I shared with my guests at my recent art exhibition, and my guests wrote these beautiful feedback uplifting messages, and today I've added some of my own sort of, what do you call it, intentions and affirmations and energetic vibrations to this board, and that is a good place to start. And then I'm also going to be using my acrylic paints from Lucas Krull. I can't wait to play with them. I got them last week. I also have an unboxing video where I share these new paints with you guys, so check that out on my channel. I also got these beautiful art movers, paint movers from Prime Art, and they are quite exciting to play with, so I'm going to use that today. But you can just use, or if you need, what is the word, you can just use an ordinary brush, whatever you have at hand. For your acrylic paints, you will need a little bit of clean water. I've got my paint water buckets here, and yeah, we're gonna get into it. I also have a bit of a kitchen towel just to clean my fingers or to wipe any excess paint off, and I have an old meat tray that I will dispense my paint in, and I'm going to use that to pick up my paint on my paint brush there. Right, so let's get into this. So the very first thing, or the first layer that I like to share with my clients in this painting made easy method is to maybe use the left brain for what it is. Our left brain is usually where we start our creative process, especially for us Westerners that have a predominantly left brain education. So it's all about facts, it's about words, it's about numbers, it's about logic, it's about A to B to Z. It's a very linear kind of thinking aspect of our brain, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. In fact, we use our left brain every single day. But for few of us, our creative muscle in our right brain is underdeveloped, and I like to sort of get people into the right brain through the first few layers of the painting, and from there on it becomes easier as we go. So if this is a bit of a daunting process, don't stress, don't worry, I will take you through it one step at a time. So the very first thing I think that you need to do, and for that you can just use a pen or an ordinary marker. In this case I use these fabulous new metallic markers that I got as a gift from Keep Smiling, and this is what my guests wrote with on this board. Now I want to give you a tip before we even go further, because if you did use permanent markers of some sort, even if it's water-based, what you might find is if you start painting with acrylic paint on top of that the ink tends to want to continue to seep through. It's like the paint is drawing it out of the page, it lifts the pigment and it bleeds into your paint. So I don't want you to have a bad experience or get frustrated with words that keep showing up as you're going to paint. So my advice for you is, after you've written your positive affirmations, everything that you say yes to in the universe, is to give it a double glaze with a gloss medium or acrylic matte medium. Gloss or matte is fine. Now this dries completely see-through, but it seals the bottom layers on your canvas, so if you paint on top of it, these words won't continue to show up ink-wise. Okay, right, so now that we've got that out of the way, what I want you to write on your board is everything that you want to say yes to, but you may be too scared, but you may be ready to begin to say yes. Yes to your dreams, yes to the life of your dreams, yes to your goals and desires of your heart. All of these things that you tend to dream of and desire and hope for, maybe you talk about it, maybe you are advanced already, where you begin to use affirmations, positive affirmations, words of your mouth, but you haven't progressed forward and you find manifesting your intentions challenging or difficult. This is a good place in your painting practice to set an intention, and really it's not complicated. You can make it as ritualistic as you want to, because the mind does work well with ritual, and this in its way is a ritual of its own. So write those beautiful words down. Even if you do it with pencil, it doesn't have to be with marker. I just did it with marker here because I know I can seal it and go forward. But if you don't have acrylic medium and you want to set intention, then use an ordinary, pencil, and write it lightly on there so that it doesn't, interfere with your process. So think about the things that you want to say yes to. Think about the things that you feel you are ready for, that you want to call forth into your life, and write it down on the canvas. You can even begin by dispensing your favorite color onto your palette, and you can even write the words of yes and your intention with the paint that you dilute a little bit with water and allow that to dry, and that would be an initiation of your canvas, because it's quite intimidating, quite frankly, to stare at a blank canvas or a blank piece of paper, especially if you're new to a creative practice and process. And where do you start? You know, that can be quite intimidating. So I'm just going to show you my way. I'm going to show you what I feel like doing today, and hopefully that gives you permission to also just try out something for you. So that would be the first thing that you need to do, is just to set an intention for your canvas, and that is beautiful. Right. Then once that is done, and you followed my instructions, if you do it this way, then, and when it is dry, you can see this is dry, you can now start what we like to call as creatively fit coaches your freedom layer. And for me, it is just about exploring my new paints in a pastel kind of tone, so they are quite light. I have them in literally all the shades of the universe, and I've got some other ones up there. So all this section will be about is just to play. A freedom layer is giving you the freedom to express yourself. What would it feel like if you painted hearts? What would it feel like if you just splattered some paint on your canvas? It doesn't really matter what you do or how you go about it. I want you to go back to your childhood when you just wanted to explore, play, and have fun. So I'm going to use this paint marker, and I'm just going to basically explore what it will feel like if I drag this paint over this canvas. Now you might say, okay, but what is the point then of writing your words on this canvas if you're going to paint it and cover it up with paint? Well, you know, it's almost like an old vinyl record. Now, if you're very young, oh well, vinyl is back in fashion, but you know, when I grew up, we used to buy music records from the music store that was recorded on vinyl, and you know, everything that's recorded in the studio is then imprinted on that vinyl, and then when you listen to it, you hear the music, right? So think of this as an energetic vinyl. So everything that is on this canvas, all the beginning layers, everything that we do from beginning to start, all the way to the end, is recording energetically the frequency of everything that you're saying yes for, and then going forward, how you feel during your play process and with each of these layers. So for now, it is very non-objective, and I encourage people to only dispense small amounts of paint and then just to play with it until you run out of a particular color of your choice, and then to maybe switch to a new color and take it from there. So, you know, some of these words will glimmer through. I did take a photograph so I can remember what it looked like before I started, so I can celebrate these messages. But you know, the painting in the end will contain all of the energies and frequencies and intentions that was on this page. So really, that is what it's all about. So I'm just going to continue to play on this canvas and just express myself and have fun. Having fun is one of the most important aspects of a creative practice. So this is where I want you to spend some time. Spend some time in just playing, allowing your inner child to come forth and to express itself. There's no right or wrong. You can't do anything wrong. I mean, how wrong can it be to put a color down, right? But be aware, be present with the process and listen to your inner frequency. Because you know, when you start to switch over to your right brain is when the left brain becomes a little bit quiet, and it doesn't offer all the critical nanny sort of opinions the whole time, because it's quite normal, especially for beginners that's new to a personal painting practice, to have this critical voice activate when you are playing on a canvas that says, oh my word, you're making a mess. What you're doing now, this is such a waste of time. I want you to pay attention to that critical nanny messages that come up and just ask yourself, whose voice am I hearing when I am, you know, engaging in this negative talk, all this criticism? Is it my mother's voice? Is it my father's voice? Is it a teacher's voice? Maybe it's a sibling or a nanny. It really doesn't matter. Just become aware of whose voice are you hearing when that critical nanny activates. And then, you know, just reassure that part of your mind, of your personality. It's okay. I'm just playing with paint. I'm not solving a world problem. I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm just having fun, smearing paint on a canvas, nothing serious. You can chill out a bit, have a break in the background. I'm allowing my inner child to come forth and to play and just to have fun. And you will find that that voice becomes a little bit quieter, and maybe then when you've come to a stage where you've run out of paint, I want you just to give it a second to breathe, because this is one of the tips I like to give you starting early on in this freedom layer. Allow yourself to express yourself and to play and have fun, but also try to work very thinly with your paint so that it can dry quickly. An acrylic paint tends to dry fast, but you can also use a hairdryer. Now here in my studio, I always have a hairdryer plugged in, ready to go, because I know I can dry acrylic paint rather quickly. Just a medium heat setting or even cold air is fine. You just want that plastic polymer in your acrylic paint to lock it down and to dry, because you know the fun part about acrylic paints is you can add more layers, and the more layers you add to your painting, the more beautiful it is going to get. So a lot of newcomers to you know, acrylic paint wants to have a lot of open time with the paint. They expect to want to blend it almost like it is an oil paint, you know, but it doesn't work that way. Acrylic paint gives you a certain period of time. As long as it's wet, then you can blend and move it around. But once it dries and it settles, then it becomes, you know, like plastic. But that is all the fun about it. Now, maybe you've come to the sort of stage in your painting where you feel, okay, cool, I want to switch to another color, but you're also still focusing a lot on all the words that you've written. So one of the things I like to do is to turn my board around and then maybe to get another color. And then what happens is your left brain that wants to make sense of everything is sort of confused, because now you've flipped the world, you've turned everything upside down, and it no longer makes sense to the left brain. But you know what? Your right brain, where your creative side is, that is the part of your brain that sort of likes to play with smell, all your senses, sight, what you hear, what you taste, what you feel, what you sense. It really becomes heightened, and the abstract becomes a little bit more familiar and fun, because the right brain is that part of you that understands symbolism, It understands the depth of, you know, color and vibration. It interprets sound and all of these sensory kind of responses from your environment. So I like to just play around with my favorite colors and just maybe focus in on areas in my canvas where I haven't put any color down yet. And in that way, I begin to play, I begin to see what color mixtures is happening on my canvas. And it's a freedom layer, so there can't be any, you know, anything wrong with what you're doing. It is just an expression of what you are feeling in the moment, and what you're responding to in the moment is what you're seeing on your canvas, and that is all I want you to focus on during this phase of your painting. So it's not rocket science, it's just applying color and having fun with it and seeing where it will take you. And usually it's a good thing to start with, you know, colors of your choice, colors that make you happy, colors that you resonate with in the moment, because that is sort of empowering your canvas, and it's starting to lay a foundation for what is to come. So nothing deeper than that, nothing more, nothing less. So this is a lot of fun, and I want you to lean into that fun and just express yourself. We're not worried about exactly what it is we're going to paint, because we'll get there as we get there. Great. I'm going to switch over to another color. I'm going to add a little bit of my lavender. And again, just add some paint and express yourself. And just listen to your intuition. Just allow yourself to place color where you think it might be pretty. And you can see I'm just skipping over the page. I'm very gentle with my application and just having fun. And for me in my studio, I'm learning about my new tool. I'm seeing what effects it can give me. And I must say, this is quite a lot of fun, these color or paint movers. It's really like a rubber kind of brush, and it's just moving the paint in a very thin kind of film, and I can scratch into it, I can remove paint, I can put it back, you know, until that paint dries. It really is open for me to express and feel and enjoy, you know. So you can see the words in the background is starting to sort of disappear a little bit. It is not so in my face anymore. It's not the main dominant thing that we are sort of focusing on anymore, but I'm also allowing some of it to glimmer through, and you can see there was something in the background, and later on it will add just a little bit more texture and color and movement pattern to the painting. So again, no right or wrong, eh? So you can see that, you know, even if you just do a freedom layer like this for your YES painting, it will already activate so many amazing feelings and experiences for you. Right, I'm going to allow that to dry before I add a bit more color to my canvas. I want to play a bit with this mint as well, while I talk to you guys about, you know, sort of what happens while you are creating, because at some stage of your freedom layer and after becoming aware of your critical nanny, it might quiet down for a bit, but then before you realize it, that critical nanny is right back. And you might think feelings or thoughts like, what am I doing, you know? Or I don't like what I'm seeing because I might be, you know, creating mud. Now, what is that? How can you create mud by, adding paint to a canvas? Well, if you work wet paint into wet paint and you're new to painting, some of, the colors are opposite colors on the color wheel, and it's something that you will learn as you go, and I will share a lot about that with you guys in my videos. And if you can invest in a color wheel, it's at your local art supply store. It is really a lifesaver because there's the universal law of color, and that means when you mix opposite colors on the color wheel with each other, you will create a neutral, which we like to call as artists mud. It's brown or gray or very dull looking colors because you've muted them down. And then when you use colors that's lying next to each other on the color wheel, that gives you an interesting variety, and it just takes a minute to get used to it. So there's a few tips I like to give beginners, and that is, be careful not to over mix your colors on the canvas. And why my colors here are staying vibrant and beautiful is because I'm just skipping over the surface with my color shaper, and I'm not really rubbing it in with a paintbrush and mixing the colors together. So it's loosely mixing on my canvas, and it's giving me this beautiful variety of shades, which I personally quite like. So if things starts to look a little bit murky to you, and it's starting to freak you out because it's not as vibrant as you wanted it to be, here's the secret. Allow the acrylic paint to dry and then go back into a fresh layer using the colors that you wanted or want to see more of. So here's the tip. Do more of what you like and do less of what you don't like. So if something is working for you and you find joy in it, do more of that. If something on your canvas is bugging you, allow it to dry and do more of what you like on top of the areas that you don't like. So it really is no biggie, and you will find a lot of freedom and joy in expressing yourself like this on a canvas. And then when you've reached a stage on your canvas where you feel the entire canvas is covered with pretty colors, patterns, shapes, lines, you can doodle, you can smear, there is no right and there is no wrong. That is why we call it a freedom layer, and I want you to do that. And when you reach that happy stage where you feel, okay, you've added enough paint to it, then I want you just to allow it to dry for a minute or two, go have a cup of tea, and when you come back, then I will show you the next layer to this beautiful YES painting. So I'm going to allow this to dry. Right. So I just wanted to mention that you can pause this video at any time if I move too fast for you and you want to just finish what we just did and you want to catch up. So you can just pause the video and resume playing when you are ready for the next step. So hopefully that will keep you sort of in sync with what I'm doing in today's free art class, and I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do with your YES painting. So remember to join me on the Creative Heart. That is my Facebook group. All the links are in the description of this video for you. So do join us there. Take a photograph of each of the stages of your painting and share it with us on the Creative Heart, because we would love to support you and hear how you experience this process. So we are now going to enter the next stage of our painting. This is then sort of the second or third stage of your painting, if you consider, your affirmations as a first sort of step. But in the painting process, it really is the second. So your freedom layer is your first layer. and this is now completely dry. So we are now going to move into what I like to call the clarity layer. So clarity is all about what are we painting, what is the topic, what is the focus, what am I going to try to bring forth out of this canvas in a playful manner. So I like to use ordinary whiteboard chalk just to sort of plot things on my canvas in a non-permanent way before I get into painting. So we're painting the word yes. So I want you to think of the style or the shape of your letters and just basically plot where you want that to be. So I'm going to go for a very fluid kind of playful yes. And I want you to use the entire canvas for this expression. And just see how that sits with you. So that will be, and again, there's no right or wrong, but here is the fun part about, you know, using a whiteboard chalk, is if anything doesn't work for you, you can literally take a brush and some water and just, you know, take it off. Or you can also use just a kitchen towel that's a little bit damp, just damp it with water, and you can wipe any of the chalk marks that you've made right off, and no problem is on your canvas. So just before you draw your next chalk line, just make sure that your board is completely dry. But you can correct a part of your drawing by using a wet brush if only you want to correct a little bit. So you can see, because this is dry, nothing is coming off on my tissue. No paint is moving. Can you see? That is the joy of acrylic paint, because what you've done is now sealed and encapsulated, and you can add more layers to it. So let's try that again. I'm basically visualizing for each of the letters maybe, you know, a space on this canvas. So now that I've figured that out, I'm going to go ahead and create my word again. I'm just mindful of the space that I have available to play in. And I can make any alterations I want to it, but I want to create this interesting space for my yes word. And every time I look at my painting, I will remember that I said yes to the universe, to my dreams, to my goals, and all of the above. So now I can come in and just correct any lines that I don't want to see or that I want to improve. Make that a little bit fatter. How cool is that? I mean, really, painting is not supposed to be complicated and difficult. And I think when we surrender to the process and we get into a process, then it is easier going forward. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Awesome. So I don't know if you can see exactly with the white on the pastel, but I promise you this is going to be a lot of fun. Yes. I wanted an exclamation mark as well, but you know what? This whole painting for me is an exclamation mark. And the energy of how I say yes is yes. So we're having fun with that. When you are happy sort of with your layout and the shape of your letters and what you are painting, then you can get ready to bring in some paint into this design to help you outline your design. And this is all still part of my clarity process, and for that I'm going to use a round brush. It's not too big, it's not too small. You can see here on my hand. And then I thought of just helping this process with something that's visible. So I'm going to use my magenta, one of my favorite colors. It's a little bit more vibrant than the pastels. And if you're using a heavy body paint, that just means a paint that you dispense and it keeps its shape like that. So acrylic comes in a variety of forms. You have liquid, you have medium body and heavy body. So this is like a medium to heavy body. So I'm adding a few drops of water to my paint just to improve the fluidity of the paint, so that when you use your round brush like this to draw an outline, then it's not so hard. The paint won't skip on the canvas. It will be a little bit smoother. So I'm going to use this mixture of paint now, and I'm going to go around my chalk line and just give myself a nice outline. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is all about expressing yourself and having fun and just getting some paint on a canvas that allows you to get this experience. And again, you have the opportunity to make some changes to your suggested outline that you did in chalk. And I sort of twist my brush a little bit between my fingers as I do this outline. Don't stress if it's not perfect. Remember, you are not a printer, you are painting. And I want you just to enjoy putting paint to canvas. Don't be too critical on yourself. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. Remember, perfectionism is a fear-based response. And it actually holds us back. It doesn't really allow us to become better at anything. In fact, I think it prevents you from even trying. Do you identify with that? Are you a perfectionist? Then you know what? A painting practice is the best place for you to work on that characteristic that was imprinted on you, probably through a traumatic experience, or maybe your parents had high expectations of you. Maybe you were scolded the whole time for not executing expectations in a manner that was pleasing to your parents or to your teachers. And in that way you became so traumatized that you started to expect this high standard of yourself, and it is really affecting your relationships and your behavior and how you feel about challenging new situations. So having a paint practice like this is really a helpful space. It's very therapeutic because in your art you can give yourself permission not to be perfect and to allow that human error and, you know, happenstance that comes along to become part of your creative expression. And in that way it gives you the opportunity to practice acceptance, kindness, tolerance, patience, you know, all of these things that we want to extend to our fellow human beings. I believe you need to learn how to express it to yourself first. And when you can express it to yourself first, it becomes easier as a practice outside of your studio and in your life. Yes, we now have a beautiful clarity about what it is that we are painting. And now we have defined our shape that we are painting on our canvas by using, you know, a color that stands out a little bit more. Sometimes you might use black because it stands out the best on your canvas. Sometimes you will use white because your colors might be very dark in the background. Anything that gives you a little bit of contrast will be helpful. And the finer your brush and the more liquid your paint, the finer a line you can draw. But I also say, when you start, don't try to make things so perfect and aligned. It's okay to do something a little bit bigger, a little bit fatter, because as we go forward now with the next layer, I will show you how we can define these spaces a little bit better, and you can even work away some of these lines. So that is going to be exciting. So this is your next step on your painting that I call the clarity layer. Allow this to dry perfectly before you come back, because when we come back we're going to talk a little bit about color choices and contrast. I'll see you guys now. Right, when you have dried your clarity layer and you touch your board, you must be able not to move any of the paint. So make sure that it is completely dry. And then you can just take a damp kitchen towel and very lightly just work the remaining chalk away so that that is not interfering with your paint. Okay, so now we're going to move into the contrast stage. This is stage 3 of our painting of our 4 layers, and this really helps me to really decide upon my color wheel, my color choices, and this is gonna help me to bring contrast to what it is I'm painting. So in this instance, and I think for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna make the inside of my YES all of the warm colors of the color chart. So let me turn my color chart around like this. So it is basically all the warm colors. So we're looking at the violets, the pinks, and the oranges, and the yellows. So I've brought these colors forward. So you will see all of these colors are on the warmer side of my color chart. And then on the negative space around the words, I'm going to be using all of the cooler colors, which is my blues and my greens, and then the violet can go over to that as well. So my cooler colors on that side. So you guys can see I'm going to be playing with very simple color choices going forward. So now that this is dried, we're going to just define our space a little bit better, and we're going to get into painting. So I'm going to dispense the colors that I want to see inside my YES, and with this I will also define and refine this outline that I created. So I'm going to use my pink, I'm going to use my orange or apricot, and I'm going to use my yellow, and I'm just going to play on the inside of my YES, and I'm going to use a very simple flat brush, and you're gonna see I'm gonna go down in shape. We started with our bigger ones, and now we're gonna go to smaller brushes as we go into the painting to define our spaces a little bit better. So I'm gonna start with this orange, and again I'm gonna define this little outline of mine a little bit by working with my colors inside of this space. So again, no right or wrong. You can be as controlled or as free as you want to be. If you just want to paint yes multiple times on your canvas and play from there, that's also perfectly fine. There's no right or wrong. Each of us find our own way into the beautiful world of painting. Whatever is beautiful to you in that moment. And you'll see I'm going to jump around a little bit because I want variety in this little shape. So I don't want to just stay in one area the whole time. I'm going to jump around. So you can see as I'm adding more paint to the interior and just blending it in, and I'm using a very painterly kind of method, I'm starting to define that outline a little bit better so it's not so harsh and big. So you get the gist of this. So this can take a minute or two. As you go into more detail going forward, you will find that your left brain quiets down considerably and you go into what I like to call a present state of mind. And that is exactly the same frequency that, you know, a monk that is meditating or a person that is meditating might attain through, you know, regular practice in meditation. So maybe you've always been interested in getting into meditation and, you know, having a mindfulness practice, but you are one of those people that can't sit still. You know, you find that you are distracted the whole time and, you know, you just can't sit still for too long. So you give up on a meditation practice because you think, oh, well, it's just not for me. But, you know, maybe painting is your thing, and you can achieve a lot of mindfulness in your practice by painting, and maybe that can be your meditation practice, and you don't even have to share this with anyone. It can be a private thing for you. So just try it and see where that will take you. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to just speed up my video now and get through this color placement a little bit faster so you can watch what I'm doing, and then pause the video and you try what I did in your own way, and then when you've caught up with me, then we will work on the negative space, which is the outside of our yes. So I'll see you guys. Right, so we played a little bit inside of our YES, and you can see that I just skipped around and I started to define this shape a little bit better in a very painterly way. Now I'm going to switch to my cooler colors, and again this is just a personal choice. I'm going to be playing with my blues and greens here, and I also don't want to cover up everything in the background, but I do want to define some of the spaces in the negative a little bit better by using my cooler shades now, and that will immediately allow the YES to stand out a little bit more than before. So I'm just dispensing some of my colors that I'm playing with here in my palette. I've got the mint green, the what is this, Arctic blue, and a lavender purple that I like to play with. Now I'm going to switch to a different brush now. I'm going to go for something a little bit more scumbly. I think I must get one of my other bigger brushes out that might give me a nicer effect. This is a nice size because I do want a bit of control. This is just a filbert and it is hog hair, so I can do what I like to call dry brushing. Now dry brushing is by not activating your brush with water and playing with your paint directly, no dilution, and I load the brush a little bit on the tip like this. And now I'm going to look at areas where I want to cool things down in this negative. So I'm going to be playing a little bit with my blue over these pinks, and that's going to just quiet it down a little bit. So again, I'm going to be skipping around into a variety of areas on my painting. As you can see, I'm not trying to cover everything up, but I'm giving it sort of a bit of a glaze. And in that way, it's going to sort of build on the contrast of my composition, and it's going to allow my YES to stand out a little bit more. If you work with student grade paint, you will find it might be very translucent. And with translucent, I mean like this. Your color isn't completely covering, and that's okay. It could also mean that the paint that you're playing with is a translucent paint. So you might have to do more than one sort of coat or glaze, whatever you like to call it, until you're happy. This is all the fun that can be had in painting, is in the process. So sometimes I find that people are rushing ahead, they want to get to the end of this amazing painting and they don't enjoy the process because they're not present. So if you feel like you are rushing ahead and you can't wait to get to the finish line, you are definitely not present. So how do you get present? Just breathe, set the intention, and slow down. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm having a lot of fun. So I'm going to pause the video, and then when I return, I'm going to fast forward through this process so that you can get to the yummy bits a little bit easier with me. Otherwise we're going to be here for hours, and I don't want you to watch me for hours. I want you to paint for hours. So again, you can see what I do and then pause the video, and when you return, then you can just press play again and we'll get right into the next part of our painting, and I'll see you guys on that side of it. So I'll Yes, we have come to the final stage of our painting. So this is what I like to call the harmony stage of the painting. It is where I really look at what the painting requires for it to feel complete. I'm not trying to redesign the whole thing. So this is all about detail, the final detail, that final brush stroke that makes it feel like it is complete. So this is where I think I'm going to switch to a very fine liner brush, and again I'm going to play with my magenta, and I'm just going to redefine that outline a little bit and just see how I can play again in my painting so that it has a little bit of character. And you know, I'm always saying, remember that you are creating a painting. It is not a print. So just because we are painting a word, it doesn't mean that it must look like a print. So, you know, just be patient and just add some, you know, interesting line work, add some pattern, redefine areas that you feel still maybe might benefit with a bit of a glaze. And I might not even do everything in the sense of my outline. I might just come to particular areas that I feel needs a little bit more joy. And again, if you make a mistake, remember the bottom is dry, so you can always just use a brush or a tissue and wipe it away. And if need be, you can always come back with that color around that area again that you have used in the background. So you can see one of the things about acrylic paint that I absolutely love is the layer, because it adds so much dimension, volume and color to, you know, the final product, that when you see the completed project you go, oh my word, how did they do this, or how did they do that? I mean, I'm just going to bring this a little bit closer for you so you can see all of the beautiful spectrum of colors that is in the painting. And it is because of the layers that you get this beautiful painterly kind of effect. And I do like this magenta outline because it really defines this yes as the main focus. So you can use this method of painting by painting anything really. This is what I use for painting in the park as well. And we go into a lot of depth about each layer and what it could represent in your life, and what you can focus on during the creation of that layer. So in a way, the painting begins to speak to you and tells you the story of your life and how you can use all of your faculties, your senses, your brain, your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts to create the reality that you want to experience more of. So, you know, when things aren't working, we as humans tend to want to begin to focus on the things that aren't working, and we focus so much on it that we keep making the same mistake, or we sort of magnetize and materialize more lessons around that, until we get that the minute you change your mind and you shift your focus from what is not working to what is working, that is a revelation. That is a moment when you go, oh my word, instead of pushing away what you don't like, why don't you rather align your energy with what is working? And the minute you take your attention away from what is not working for you and you start focusing on what is working for you, that which disturbed you and was a problem for you will be less energized and will begin to shift and drop away from your experience and from your reality, because energy flows to where our attention goes. So sometimes we can fix something that's not working in our life by not giving it so much energy and attention, but rather shifting our energy to what is working. So in a way, this yes painting is doing exactly that. Instead of focusing on what we're saying no to, let's rather put our energy and our time to focusing on the things that we do want more of in our lives, and base your energy there. Because then what happens is the universe shifts gears the universe is programmed to always bring us what we want. So if we want a yes in our life, then start feeling into that yes. Start thinking about that yes and become present with that yes. What is the essence of that yes? What is the feeling behind that yes? What would you feel like when this thing that you're giving permission to show up in your life, when it shows up? How will that feel? Will you be joyful? Will you be happy? Will you be content? Will you be satisfied? And focus more in on those feelings than, the doom and gloom that, the news wants you to focus on. I really used to watch a lot of television. I enjoy the visual medium, but I do choose to very carefully what I really sort of fill my life with. And because I believe television is just programming. It's programming you to react and think and behave in a particular way. We are, herd animals in a way as human beings. So when we see, the rest of the world complain and, bemoan their existence, it's so easy to fall into that pattern of behavior and begin to do the same. So as a human collective consciousness, I think why we're seeing so much negative things in the news is because as a collective, it is coming up to the surface for us to deal with. And so that we can become aware, it is shown in our collective through our media, through our films, through our social media, and our interaction with each other as humans. And we are slowly but surely becoming aware that some things aren't working for us. So that's the duality that we are seeing, the contrast in our experience. And even in our weather patterns, we are seeing like a disparity. There's something not in sync. And it is asking of all of us as individuals to check our vibration, to check what it is that we are energizing. What are we saying yes to unconsciously or by default? And the best way to shift that, I think, is through awareness. And when you realize that you're choosing by default, by agreeing with everything that life is presenting you on television and in the media, don't be surprised if that shows up in your life. So if you wanted to shift, if you wanted to change, then say yes to something else. Say yes to what it is you really want to say yes to, and begin to enjoy that, because that will start to show up more in your life. And that is where I said yes to a creative practice. I said yes to my own personal painting practice. I said yes to living the dream as an artist. And the minute I said yes to my dreams and my goals, and I started creating time and space for these things to show up in my life that I'm saying yes to, it started showing up. And it's really that simple. So you might say, okay, but I'm saying yes to the lotto. I'm saying yes to the lotto as well every day. But it's not showing up in the way that you might think. And so I'm saying yes to that abundance, and I'm allowing it to show up in my life in any way, shape or form, not just the lotto. So I can win the lotto daily through giving thanks for my daily blessings. Every day I've got something to eat. Every day I've got work to do. Every day I've got clothes that I can put on my body. We're not meant to just have everything in life and then sit back and then what? I think that's why a lot of very rich people have existential crisis, because all they want is more money, and they get bored to tears, and they start engaging in activities and things that's not healthy and helpful to everyone on the planet. And it becomes very selfish and self-centered. And to me, that is sad that not everyone, but a lot of people that have a lot of privilege can become so self-centered that, they don't realize they could change our world by becoming a little bit more unity conscious and conscious of, all the needs in the world around us, because I believe there's enough for everyone. But shifting your vibration through your art and saying yes to the things that you do want to experience in your life, aligning your actions and your thoughts and your words to that what you wish to manifest in your life, that is a sure way to manifest it, to attract it, and to have it show up in your life in beautiful ways. So that is the whole point of having a creative practice. And I hope that this simple painting process that I demonstrated to you guys today, as simple as it might be, it is very powerful, it is very effective, and it works. So, maybe you are interested to become a creatively fit coach. Maybe you resonate with this whole idea of using creativity to empower your life. And if that is you, then do look at the links in the description of this video. You'll find my affiliate link to enroll for the Creatively Fit coaching training that is beginning soon. And I'm sure that you will also find it extremely empowering to say yes to your dreams, yes to your goals, and yes to your creative painting practice. So I'm excited to see what you guys have done with your yes painting, all the stages of your creation. Remember to take a photograph or even a short video and share it with me on the Creative Heart. The link is in the description of this video. And I want to thank you for spending some time with me today in this free art class. Join me again next Monday at 4 o'clock when we continue our journey in our art journal and in composition, and we will be looking at a radial composition then. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again real soon. And remember to stay creative and to say yes to your dreams. Bye bye for now.